Battlefield 6 is taking Battlefield back to its roots with large-scale warfare set on giant maps where infantry, armored vehicles, and aerial warfare collide. Despite simplifying and taking some cues from previous fan favorites like Battlefield 4, there's actually a lot to learn about the latest iteration of this game. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 details you need to know about Battlefield 6. Starting off at number 10, classes are back. Traditional classes have returned to Battlefield 6, and they replaced the specialists that appeared in previous games. The class selection's a little more limited here, only 4 to choose from: Assault, Engineer, Recon, and Support, but each class does have a lot more versatility. For example, Support is both the Support and Medic class in this game, giving you the ability to drop ammo, crates, and defib allies for a quick revive. Engineers come equipped with anti-vehicle weapons like rocket launchers, so they're not just guys with big wrenches. Assaults get enhanced mobility and the ability to carry an extra primary weapon, while Recon, they're the snipers with one incredible class ability. Those are called field specs in this game, and they add some of that specialist flavor to your classes. They're easy to miss on your first session. Field specs, they're almost the real classes in Battlefield 6. These determine your playstyle because every class has 2 different field specs. Engineers can field spec as combat engineers and anti-vehicle specialists. Supports can field spec as field medics or fire support. And Recon field specs as snipers or pathfinders that focus on finding targets. You know, the guy that holds the laser and everything comes raining down on what the laser's on. That. You'll get access to the same weapons and gear, but field specs give new passive or active abilities that really make you shine. These field specs, they do level up, and as they do, you'll unlock new abilities that you need to keep in mind for both sides. For example, combat engineers can auto-repair vehicles that they're piloting, and snipers gain a passive that blocks revive on headshots. Frontliners, they get a second adrenaline syringe. Knowing your abilities can completely change how you approach situations, so obviously it's important too. At number 9, Support is probably the best beginner class. Support's probably the best playstyles for beginners and veterans alike, because immediately it's instantly useful for helping your squad. Support is your Battlefield 6 medic class, but it is more versatile here. You don't need to be a sweaty pro gamer to play this class. You don't need to shoot anybody even. As Support, you can focus on helping your team with the defib tool, or you can drop ammo crates, keep the squad supplied. Support also uses an LMG, which is a newbie-friendly weapon, at least if you stay out of extreme close combat. Sticking near your squad is where Support shines, and one of their best abilities is something you might not even know about. Support can carry players and revive them out of the kill box. I mean, anyone can carry bodies, but supports get the most play because of their healing abilities. Not that you absolutely need to carry bodies, because support can revive instantly with the defib. There's 2 modes for the defib paddles, might I add. You can tap to give a quick recharge, revive down allies with 50% health, or you can hold the paddles to fully charge them and revive with 100% health. That extra health is essential, so make sure you're not only doing quick revives in combat. Don't forget to stick around and wait for your support to revive you either. It saves team tickets and helps your support get more XP. They're already swimming in easy XP, to be fair, because of their super useful skills, but it's always better to get revived than to respawn. It's also always better to subscribe to gameranx, which, as it turns out, quite a few of you have not. I'm not gonna beat you over the head with it, but we'd certainly appreciate it if you did. It helps us out a whole lot, and we hope it helps you see some stuff you'd like. Thanks a lot, and let's get back to the video. And number 8 is understanding weapon bloom. If you're returning to the battlefield, so to speak, after a long hiatus from Battlefield, there's one core mechanic you will need to train your brain for, and that is weapon bloom. The concept of bloom or spread isn't unique to the Battlefield franchise, but it is kind of handled a bit unique. Weapon bloom is essentially how accurate you are over time. The more you fire your weapon, the less accurate it becomes. The first shots from your assault rifle, when aiming down the sights, are always pretty close to your target. The rest veer wildly out of your crosshairs. The only visual way to tell when ADSing is by watching your tracers and seeing them fly far away from whatever you're trying to shoot. There are ways to combat mitigate weapon bloom to improve accuracy. First of all, firing in short bursts. That's essential for accuracy, and literally every gun in the game. Full auto is only useful at extremely close range. Anything that's more than a few feet away, you'll want to fire in quick controlled bursts at. Accuracy also gets worse if you're moving, so if your accuracy is something you need to care about, the more stable you are, the easier. I mean, that should be a thing that goes without saying, but standing still, crouching, or going prone, that's the best ways to gain maximum accuracy. Or you can mount your weapon on cover. That really stabilizes a machine gun. Standing still obviously puts you in a lot of danger, though, unless you're catching someone else aware, though, keeping that in mind. Combat in Battlefield 6 tends to be medium range. Most of your gunfights are going to be in open areas with limited cover, and that's where short, controlled bursts shine. The trick is practicing when to be mobile, when to pause for a second, and learning how to lay down fire before easing off and resetting your invisible gun bloom. It isn't bad hit detection. It's a game mechanic that you will have to understand and get used to. And number 7 is spray and pray. There are 2 more mechanics tied to shooting and accuracy that you'll want to know more about: suppression and range finding. If you're a support class like we've been talking about, you'll get a light machine gun, and one benefit of the LMG is suppression. You'll suppress an enemy just by shooting near them, which causes a delay in their auto health regeneration. Suppressing essentially makes them vulnerable for longer. This only stops the Call of Duty style regen, though. Health items can still heal in this state, and yes, you can be suppressed even if you're hiding behind cover. Nearby explosions also cause this effect, so tanks can be great for suppressing squads hiding inside buildings or bunkers. You also earn XP for suppressing, so support can really ignore the advice we just gave. If you can get a clear shot, just hold down the trigger. Accuracy doesn't matter if that's the point. Now, accuracy does matter if you're in the recon class, because recon are the snipers of Battlefield 6. Snipers gain one function that's extremely useful. You can now change your sights, point of aim instantly mid-battle. While aiming, the option to adjust your range is visible on the bottom right. It's set to 100 meters by default. Zeroing your sights is a way to compensate for bullet drop. It is possible to learn and adjust for bullet drop on your own, but if you want perfect precision, adjust for distance. The higher your zero, the higher you'll be aiming to compensate for gravity. It takes some time to wrap your head around the concept if you're new to semi-realistic sniping in video games, so keep that in mind and try it. Just don't push up the sight range and get into a close range shootout. You'll be sending bullets over your enemy's head. And number 6 is revives and respawns. Working with your squad and staying close to allies is absolutely essential to winning every game mode in Battlefield 6. A group of players working together will always win a gunfight, period. Not a question. I mean, unless it's 2 groups of players both working together at an equal level, then it's anyone's game, right? Anyway, reviving your fellow soldiers is the best way to prevent ticket loss. Respawn tickets are basically the currency you live by in Battlefield 6. You lose a ticket for each revive, and when you run out, you just lose the match. Getting shot isn't an instant ticket loss either. If an ally revives you, you keep the ticket. And support isn't the only class that can revive. One new feature that's incredibly important to keep in mind: don't respawn immediately when you're down. Lots of new players won't wait around for a support and mash through and instantly respawn. This wastes team tickets, and it's completely unnecessary because of another mechanic in Battlefield 6. When you're bleeding out, choose Request Revive to alert your allies nearby and get the attention of a support. It's incredibly easy to do, and the game shows you all the nearby characters with the ability to revive. This also slows down your bleed out, which gives you more support time, and your support characters could more easily potentially reach you, or for a longer period of time for that matter. If there are any highlighted names under your bleed out timer, those are the players nearby. If there's nobody, go ahead and skip. If you're really in a bad position, like if there's a tank sitting on your body or a squad of enemy soldiers, you probably don't need to request a revive. That'll probably just piss off your team. You're not gonna get revived if you're way in enemy territory. Be smart, think about your situation, but either way, there's a respawn timer. If you choose to bleed out immediately, you'll always wait. There's no reason not to stop and wait. If you do wait and you choose to bleed out, you'll respawn immediately. The timer will be up. Bleeding out and skipping the timer, it's pointless. You're always better off waiting for at least a little bit of time, okay? If there's nobody nearby, you can still ping enemies, blah, blah, blah. And number 5 is pinging and auto-pinging. This can be a bit of a contentious issue in the Battlefield 6 community right now. And our experience from the beta is probably going to be different than the main game, but pinging is super important right now, so you'll definitely need to know how it works. So by pressing the middle mouse button or the right bumper or R1, depending on what platformer, you'll open the ping wheel. You'll be able to place useful markers to call out to your team. You can ping locations directly on the map. You can ping enemies, blah, blah, blah. You can tap these buttons while targeting enemies. That'll ping your team to their location for a set amount of time. It doesn't last forever, but that few seconds of recon can make or break battles. You can even ping enemy locations while you're down to prevent your supports from getting ambushed. It's an important and easy to use system that anyone can use without having to yell over a microphone. You should also know about auto-pinging. Auto-pinging or auto-spotting is a unique feature for the recon class. Basically, you can summon an auto drone that circles above the player and auto-pings anything within 30 meters. That's crazy useful for taking control points with your team, but that's not what most players are talking about when they mention auto-ping. Whenever you aim at an enemy, a red diamond appears over their heads. That diamond marks the target as an enemy. Hard to tell friendly soldiers from enemies far away, that's what the red diamond's for. But this diamond will appear if your crosshairs are anywhere close to your target, and players are using this to spot through brush. One quick pass of your crosshairs, and you can briefly ping targets with that red diamond. Keep that in mind for assaulting and defending, because everyone's doing the same thing to you. A big bush might not necessarily be the concealment you thought it was with the current ping system. Insert whatever big bush joke you want here, whether that be presidential or pelvic. And number 4 is teamwork on control points. Conquest is a classic Battlefield game mode, and in that mode, you'll be capturing control points. Control points are in other modes too, and there's a way to speed up the capture process. The more allies you have standing on a control point, the faster you'll take it. You should be taking control points with allies anyway. Crowd onto the control point after you've cleared enough enemies, and that speeds up the capture time. Obviously, this works for enemies as well. The more enemies in the control area, the more they'll counter your capture attempt. Gathering up on control points, killing enemies, and keeping enemies out, that's essential for capturing. If you're standing on a control point with enemies, a large contested banner is going to appear on your HUD. This is really useful because it shows how many allies are on the point and how many enemies. Wiping out enemies is the most important step, but knowing how many there are when you run into a base is essential for decision making. If you're outnumbered, you'll know to wait for allies and hold down the fort. If you're a single saboteur sneaking around, your team can go on the hunt. Battlefield 6 really puts lone wolf players at a disadvantage in this way. You're much more likely to win running with a team. And number 3 is healing and repairing. Staying healthy and keeping your vehicles repaired is essential for attack and defense in Battlefield 6. There's more to life than waiting to be revived. We've already talked a lot about reviving and respawning, but there's another wrinkle to the support class you do need to know. Supports can distribute health packs to heal allies, but you don't need to wait for those health packs to get thrown down. Everyone can interact with the support class to automatically collect health packs from them. It's like distributing a health pack to yourself. Very helpful when you're in a firefight and you have a support nearby. The combat medic is a moving health station, and they heal while reviving other players. That's a big deal, especially when you're under the effects of suppression and your team isn't auto-healing. Combat medics are the only way to health in those situations, and keeping your nearby medic in mind is definitely going to help you. Like medics, combat engineers are an essential part of your team's strategy. The engineer has their blowtorch, which is the main method for restoring health on vehicles, but combat engineers get a different passive that makes them an extremely good passenger. See, combat engineers auto-ping mines. On top of that, they get more use out of their blowtorch and passively restore health to any vehicle they're in. If you're a dedicated tank player, you'll want to play as the combat engineer. Their active ability also heals vehicles faster, so you can hop out and heal from cover, behind remounting, and getting back into combat. And number 2 is smoking them out. All vehicles have access to smoke or flares. We all know that fighter jets can launch flares to divert incoming missiles, but tanks have a similar mechanic in Battlefield 6. Armored vehicles can launch smoke multiple times to protect your allies on the ground. It's a great way to obscure line of sight, especially if you're an engineer using a blowtorch outside your tank. Smoke also has a secondary effect that works like flares. If a missile is locked onto your vehicle, Launching smoke will block lock-on and even divert missiles launched at you. Popping smoke after a missile strike has been launched is a great way to protect your vehicle. That's a mechanic that's pretty unique to Battlefield 6, too. Of course, that won't stop unguided rocket launchers from landing hits if they fire into the smoke, but it's still useful for small arms fire. They can't hit an engineer they can't see. Any class can also throw smoke, but you're better off using the grenade or field spec if you want to really carry a lot of smoke grenades. All that smoke can be real essential for blocking enemy view of vehicles or just forcing opponents to relocate. Combine the auto-pinging recon drone with smoke and you can really put your enemies at a disadvantage while you're also protecting yourself from missile lock-on. If you're in a vehicle, listen for the lock-on beep before popping smoke. It's pretty much a lifesaver. And finally, at number 1, maps are tailored for every mode. The last thing we'll talk about is how maps are specifically designed for the mode you're playing. There's only so many maps at launch, but the number alone is deceptive because each map is very different depending on the game mode. Large-scale conquest maps can also be played in infantry-only modes like Team Deathmatch or Domination, but in those smaller modes, a single section of the map is walled off and designed with that mode in mind. Why is this so important? Because this changes how destruction works. Destruction is the same every single time in Battlefield 6. That means buildings will crumble the same way every time, and that makes more predictability, so to speak. You'll know some buildings can be destroyed floor by floor, some buildings create barriers when destroyed, others open up new pathways. You'll see for yourself because the destruction changes depending on the mode. Sometimes destruction's disabled even. Sometimes it's altered to better fit the smaller scale of the action. I mean, there's a lot of maps we haven't been able to fully explore yet in Battlefield 6, and knowing how a map reacts to how you play is an important factor. Your tactics won't work on every map scale, and the developers at DICE have stated the destruction is specifically modeled for the scale of the modes. It's an interesting detail to keep in mind. They're going to rescale maps for different modes, so it's good to know they're still being designed with care. We'll probably stick with Conquer over the close quarters combat modes, even if we're curious how each mode has changed. That's 10 big details you probably should know before diving into this game. There's a ton to learn with this back-to-basics Battlefield, but we've really actually barely scratched the surface here. If you're a veteran of the public beta, let us know what you think we need to know, or what everybody needs to know, really, in the comments. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.